LeBron James is an amazing player, but as a general manager he's below average. Paul Pierce was saying on a popular basketball discussion show. He never knew how to build a team, he always joined teams that others had built. During his first Cleveland stint in Miami, even with the Lakers, the host was about to ask a question when a message in his earpiece made him flinch. "We just received a call from LeBron James's manager," the host said with surprise. "LeBron wants to connect to our live broadcast and show Paul some things." As Pierce's confident expression gave way to nervousness, LeBron appeared on screen. "Hey Paul," James said in a calm voice, "I think it's time I showed you my draft night plans." LeBron James appeared on screen, with unexpected calmness on his face. "When I heard what Paul said today, I thought it was finally time to share some truths," LeBron said with determination. "I want to share my draft night strategies and team-building plans that I've kept in my private archives for years, and that only my inner circle knows about." The host, unable to hide his surprise, asked, "Why have you kept these documents secret until now, LeBron?" James smiled, "Because my career as a player isn't over yet, but Paul's claims are so baseless that I can no longer stay silent." The camera turned to Pierce, who was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. LeBron said, "I just sent a series of documents to your producers. Let's watch them, then we'll talk." The show cut to a commercial break, but everyone was waiting with curiosity. What were these documents LeBron was showing? Would Pierce's claims really be debunked? And most importantly, what would be the outcome of this confrontation? Welcome to the Famous Stories channel. Whatever city you're watching from, please write it in the comments below. If you're curious about unknown and never before heard truths, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like our videos. The popular basketball discussion show had started that morning as a normal episode. Host Mark Wilson introduced his guests: former NBA player and current analyst Paul Pierce, sports journalist Sarah Johnson, and former coach Frank Thomas. Wilson began with one of the hottest topics of the day. "Today we'll be discussing how LeBron James has shaped his teams throughout his career. Is the king really effective at team building, or does he just prefer to play with good players?" Paul Pierce immediately jumped in. "I'm not going to hesitate to say this. LeBron James is a perfect player, perhaps the best of all time, but as a general manager he's below average." "That's a serious claim, Paul," said Wilson. "What are you basing this on?" "On facts," said Pierce. "Look at LeBron's career. He never knew how to build a team. He always joined teams that others had built. During his first stint in Cleveland, he was playing entirely with players the club had selected. When he went to Miami, Pat Riley had already put Wade there and brought in Bosh. When he returned to Cleveland, Kyrie was already there, and they brought in Love. Even with the Lakers, Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka shaped the roster." Sarah Johnson interjected, "But many reports show that LeBron has had a major influence on player decisions in his teams. The nickname LeBM wasn't given to him for nothing. The truth is, LeBron never built a team from scratch. He always came to ready-made teams. There's no evidence he had a say in draft picks. Look at the Lakers' last 5 years. If LeBron really could build a team, there would be more championships today." Frank Thomas shook his head. "Paul, you're being a bit unfair. Most players who came to LeBron's teams came to play with him." "That's exactly my point," Pierce replied. "LeBron can attract other stars to himself, but he was never successful in discovering new talent, directing draft picks, or creating team chemistry. If it were up to him, Anthony Davis would never have come to the Lakers." Just as the host was about to respond to Pierce's bold claims, a message in his earpiece made him flinch. His expression suddenly changed, first surprise, then what looked like controlled excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen," said Wilson, unable to hide the excitement in his voice, "we've just received a call from LeBron James's manager. LeBron wants to connect to our broadcast live and show Paul Pierce some things." Everyone in the studio looked at each other in surprise. The confident expression on Pierce's face gave way to slight nervousness. "We're connecting him to the program," said Wilson. "LeBron, can you hear us?" LeBron James appeared on screen. He was connecting from his home in Los Angeles. Behind him, basketball awards and championship trophies were visible. His expression was calm but determined. "Yes, I can hear you clearly," said LeBron. "Welcome to our program, LeBron," said Wilson. "Did you hear what Paul Pierce just said about your team-building abilities?" "Yes, I heard," said LeBron. "And to be honest, when I heard what Paul said, I thought it was finally time to share some truths." "What kind of truths, LeBron?" Wilson asked, unable to hide his excitement. "I want to share my draft night strategies and team-building plans that I've kept in my private archives for years, and that only my inner circle knows about," said LeBron. "For every team I've been with in the NBA, I have strategic plans prepared long before the draft. Whatever anyone says, I've always taken an active role in shaping the future of my teams." A deep silence fell over the studio. The nervousness on Paul Pierce's face was now clearly visible. "Why have you kept these documents secret until now, LeBron?" the host asked. LeBron smiled slightly. "Because my career as a player isn't over yet. I normally planned to share these kinds of things after I retired, but Paul's claims are so baseless that I can no longer stay silent." The camera turned to Pierce. The former Celtics star looked uncomfortable but was still ready to defend himself. "I just sent a series of documents to your producers," said LeBron. "Let's watch them, then we'll talk." Wilson looked at the producers, and they nodded in confirmation. "Ladies and gentlemen, after a short commercial break, we'll show these special documents that LeBron James mentioned," said Wilson, turning to the camera. "Stay with us." When the program returned from the commercial break, the atmosphere in the studio had completely electrified. Paul Pierce was sitting more upright in his chair. There was a nervous expression on his face, but it was clear he was trying to maintain control. "Welcome back to the program," said Mark Wilson. "LeBron James is currently connecting remotely and has sent us some special documents to respond to Paul Pierce's claims." "LeBron, what exactly do these documents contain?" "First of all, these are from my personal archives," said LeBron. "Notes I've kept, analyses I've made, and strategic plans I've prepared for my NBA team since 2003, the beginning of my career. First, I want to show my draft analysis notes from before I returned to Cleveland in 2014. The screen displayed a series of pages filled with LeBron's handwriting. The date was April 2014, months before his decision to return to Cleveland. "As you can see on these pages," said LeBron, "I had done detailed analyses of Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and other potential draft picks long before I returned to the Cavaliers. But what I particularly want to draw your attention to is this note here." The camera showed a close-up of a note framed at the bottom of the page. "If they select Wiggins, I'll suggest they trade him for Kevin Love. Minnesota will accept this trade." Everyone in the studio looked at each other in amazement. This note precisely predicted what would later happen. "I wrote this note months before I returned to the Cavaliers," said LeBron, "and exactly as I predicted, the Cavaliers selected Wiggins and then traded him for Love on my advice." Paul Pierce's face reddened slightly. "How can we verify the authenticity of this, LeBron? You could have written these notes now and backdated them." "That's a fair question, Paul," LeBron said calmly. "That's why I want to show the second document." The screen displayed email correspondence between Cleveland Cavaliers general manager David Griffin and LeBron. The date was July 2014, immediately after LeBron's return to Cleveland. "Griffin, what do you think about Wiggins? Would it be better to keep him on the team or trade him?" "LeBron, according to my strategic plan that I prepared in April, we should trade Wiggins for Love. I've attached the file, please review it." "Griffin, I've reviewed your plan. Very impressive analysis. I'm starting discussions with Minnesota. Here's the attached file from that email," said LeBron, showing a new document on screen. "As you can see, this is the same file I prepared in April." Griffin clearly states in his email that he was impressed by my plan and is implementing my suggestion. A deep silence prevailed in the studio. Paul Pierce now looked truly uncomfortable. "What about the Lakers?" Sarah Johnson asked. "What do you say about Paul's claims regarding the Anthony Davis transfer?" "Actually, that's the third document I want to show," said LeBron. "My 3-year team-building plan that I prepared before joining the Lakers in 2018. A new document appeared on screen. It was titled, Lakers 2018-2021 Strategic Plan, and bore LeBron's signature. On the second page of the document, there was a note written in red ink. "Priority target: add Anthony Davis to the roster for the 2019-2020 season." "I prepared this plan before joining the Lakers," said LeBron, "and as you can see, I had targeted Anthony Davis for the 2019-2020 season. This wasn't just a coincidence, it was a completely planned strategy." Wilson wanted to bring more clarity to the topic. "These documents are truly impressive, LeBron, but as a player, preparing such detailed team-building plans is unusual. Why did you make such comprehensive studies?" LeBron took a deep breath. "Because I'm not just a basketball player, I'm a businessman, a strategist. I want to be successful off the court as much as on it, and to do that, I always need to think several moves ahead." "What about the Miami era?" Frank Thomas asked. "Did you build that team too?" "Miami was a bit different," said LeBron. "There I worked closely with Pat Riley. But yes, I made a significant contribution. I want to show you the fourth document." The screen displayed a series of messages between Riley and LeBron. The dates showed between 2009 and 2010, months before the decision. LeBron, December 2009. "Pat, I've been working on this 3-year plan. Me, Wade, and a big man, preferably Bosch. I've attached the financial analysis. Riley, December 2009. As you can see, said LeBron, I had planned the trio structure months before going to Miami. Pat Riley implemented this plan. Paul Pierce was now clearly on the defensive. Well, LeBron, if you're such a good team builder, why couldn't you be more successful during your first years in Cleveland? A slight smile appeared on LeBron's face. Good question, Paul. I want to show my fifth and final document. The screen displayed a journal page written by young LeBron in 2006. Today I presented 3 different player trade proposals to management. They rejected all of them. It's frustrating that Cleveland doesn't understand my vision. If I were building the team, our current roster would be very different. Maybe one day I'll be in a position to build my own team. Until then, I must be patient. That's why my first period in Cleveland was different, said LeBron. At that time I was only 21-22 years old, and management wasn't taking my suggestions seriously. But the situation was completely different in Miami, my second Cleveland period, and with the Lakers. In these teams most of my decisions were implemented. Everyone in the studio had fallen silent with the weight of the evidence LeBron had shown. Even Paul Pierce could no longer counter. The last thing I want to show is my analysis for the 2023 draft with the Los Angeles Lakers, said LeBron. No one has seen this document before, not even Lakers management. The screen displayed LeBron's draft analysis for the Lakers. The document was so detailed that it contained pages of analysis on the strengths and weaknesses of each potential draft pick, how they would fit into the team, and their future potential. I'll give this analysis to Pelinka during my end-of-season health checks, said LeBron. And I'm sure a large part of this analysis will be reflected in the Lakers' 2023 draft strategy. Mark Wilson couldn't hide his amazement. LeBron, these documents are truly incredible. But why have you kept them secret until now? Why haven't you shared this talent for team building with the public before? LeBron responded thoughtfully, because I'm still an active player. If I share these kinds of things, I could weaken my team's bargaining power, expose our strategies. Also, such documents could affect my relationships with my teammates. Nobody wants to be known as working with LeBron, but Paul's claims today were so unfounded that I thought it was time to show some truths. Wilson turned to Paul Pierce. Paul, what do you say to these documents LeBron has shown? Pierce remained silent for a few seconds, then responded, these documents are impressive. If they're real, maybe I've misjudged LeBron's role in team building. Maybe, LeBron asked, his voice hardening slightly. Paul, I want to tell you something I've never told you before. In 2010, before I went to Miami, I had prepared a plan to get you out of Boston to play with me. Pierce's eyes widened. What? Yes, said LeBron. I called Danny Ainge and offered a trade for you. Ainge was interested, but you said no. This isn't true, Pierce began to stutter. I didn't receive such an offer. I want to show the 6th document, said LeBron. The screen displayed a transcript of a phone call between LeBron's agent and Danny Ainge. Ainge, does LeBron really want Pierce? Agent, yes, he wants to play with him in Miami. Ainge, interesting offer. I'll ask Pierce. Agent, please let us know. A second transcript was shown. Ainge, I talked to Pierce. He doesn't want to go to Miami. He prefers to stay in Boston rather than play with LeBron. Pierce's face had turned bright red. I don't remember this. Really, Paul, said LeBron, because in addition to the documents I'm showing right now, there's an interview where you mentioned this offer. The screen began playing a video of an interview Paul Pierce gave in Interviewer, did you ever think about playing on the same team as LeBron? Pierce, actually there was such an opportunity in 2010. Ainge told me there was an offer from Miami, but I preferred to stay in Boston. I enjoyed playing against LeBron more than playing with him. When the video ended, a heavy silence prevailed in the studio. Pierce's face no longer looked defensive but completely helpless. Paul, said LeBron, his voice now softer, I don't have a problem with you. I've always respected you as a basketball player. But what you said here today wasn't true. I've always taken an active role in building my teams. Maybe I didn't show this to the public, but that doesn't change the reality. Pierce took a deep breath, then did something unexpected. He smiled. Okay, LeBron, he said, you caught me. I was a bit harsh on you. Maybe out of jealousy, maybe because of our old rivalry. Why? LeBron asked. Why did you downplay my team-building abilities so much? Pierce thought for a moment. Because you're so good as a player that people overlook your other talents, including me. Maybe I thought the only way to compete with you was to belittle your off-court talents. LeBron nodded, with an understanding expression on his face. I understand, Paul. Competition sometimes drives us to say such things. But I should also say, Pierce continued, These documents you've shown are truly impressive. Your team building and strategic thinking abilities are as strong as your basketball talent. I have to admit that. The atmosphere in the studio had begun to change. The initial tension was giving way to a more sincere atmosphere. Just then, a new message came through Wilson's earpiece. His eyes widened. "There's another incredible development," said Wilson. "Danny Ainge is calling us right now and wants to connect to the program." The image of former Boston Celtics general manager Danny Ainge appeared on screen. "Danny, welcome to the program," said Wilson. "We just had a very interesting discussion between Paul Pierce and LeBron James. What would you like to say about this discussion?" Ainge smiled. "I watched everything and I'm frankly surprised. Yes, LeBron's agent called me in 2010 and presented an offer for Paul Pierce. When I asked Paul, he was initially interested but then changed his mind." Pierce's face reddened again. "Danny, Wait, Paul, I'm not finished," said Ainge, "but what's really surprising is LeBron's role in the process of building the 2008 Celtics team." Everyone in the studio froze. Even LeBron's face showed a surprised expression. "What do you mean, Danny?" Wilson asked. "Before I brought Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen to Boston in 2007, I received a message from LeBron," said Ainge. His message said, "If you bring Garnett and Allen to the Celtics, competition in the Eastern Conference will increase and the quality of the league will rise. Also, this move will save Pierce's career." Everyone in the studio looked at each other in amazement. LeBron couldn't believe this revelation. "Is this true, LeBron?" Wilson asked. LeBron hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, it's true. At that time I wanted competition to increase in the NBA. It would have been a shame for a talented player like Pierce to end his career without winning a championship." Pierce looked completely shocked. "You wanted me to win a championship, LeBron? We were rivals at that time." "Being rivals doesn't prevent us from respecting each other, Paul," said LeBron. "Yes, I always wanted to win on the court, but off the court I wanted basketball and players to develop. Your winning a championship pushed me to become a better player." The atmosphere in the studio had completely changed. The initially tense air was now filled with mutual respect and open confessions. Ainge added, "LeBron's message impressed me and played a role in my making the Garnett and Allen moves. Ultimately, we won the 2008 championship. Maybe Paul owes that championship a little bit to LeBron too." Pierce smiled, this time sincerely. "This is really incredible. For years I saw LeBron as a rival, but now I'm learning that he also had a hand in the biggest success of my career. The basketball world is really small." Wilson was amazed by this unexpected development. "This has been one of the most interesting discussions I've ever participated in on this program. We've come to a very different place from where we started." LeBron made a final comment. "Perhaps the most important lesson we can take from this discussion is not to judge by appearances. We may be rivals on the court, but we're all working for the development and improvement of basketball. I've always taken an active role in team building, but my main goal was to do what's best not just for myself but for basketball." Pierce nodded in agreement. "And I learned an important lesson today too. Sometimes our criticisms can be a tool to cover our own shortcomings. While criticizing LeBron about team building, maybe I was avoiding questioning my own career choices." As Wilson concluded the program, he turned to the camera. "Today we witnessed some of the most interesting revelations in NBA history. We learned how strategic and effective LeBron James is not just on the court but off it as well. We heard Paul Pierce's honest confessions, and perhaps most surprisingly, we saw how these two great rivals influenced each other's careers behind the scenes. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. What do you think about this topic? Please write in the comments below. See you in the next video.